We're joined right now by Dick Irvin, again, part of the fabric of Hockey Night in Canada for 33 years. And I wanted to get reaction from Dick today on this announcement because yesterday, in case you had not heard, the CBC basically let us know, no more Hockey Night in Canada. It could not work out a deal with the folks who own this franchise now, or at least the rights in Canada. So that's Rogers Sportsnet. Dick, first of all, thank you. You're going through some bad weather there right now, are you?
Yeah, it's very dark, Aaron. And hello, it's been a while.
It has.
Yeah.
It has. I appreciate you taking the time, Dick. I really do. So you heard the news yesterday along with everybody else. Can I ask what your reaction was?
Well, you're asking somebody whose whole life, and I've had a few years, has been involved with Hockey Night in Canada. When I was old enough to say, when I was born, that was when Foster Hewitt started the radio broadcasts of the Toronto Maple Leaf games, and it was called Hockey Night in Canada. And that's how long that franchise has been going. So you might say I grew up listening, first of all, on the radio, of course, and I was in Regina, I wasn't in the East. And but it was always the Leafs, only Saturday nights, and always the Toronto Maple Leafs until the playoffs. And I can remember one time listening to a game when the Canadians, my dad was coaching, it happened to be in Toronto, and my mother came in the room and I was crying. And she said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Well, what happened was the Canadians had just got a penalty for too many men on the ice. I thought it was my dad's fault and he was going to get fired." And so that was, I was a radio guy like everybody else was in those days until television started in 1952-53.
Right.
Funny, there was a clip last night on one of the TV coverages, very old and grainy, of that first game that was on television. It was Detroit at Montreal. It was the opening game of the 52-53 season. And it was done in French only. The French beat the English by a couple of weeks. That was the first year Danny Gallivan did the Canadians games. That was 52-53. And again, only Saturday nights. And Aaron, here in Montreal, we didn't get very good coverage of the Canadians for a long time. It was basically only Saturday night.
Right.
And that's what I think grabbed everybody in Canada because it was the only game in town. And, it was basically Saturday nights. You never got any games on a Wednesday or a Thursday, like the coverage is today. My God, today, when I was, you mentioned 33 years, it was a little longer than that, really. But in all the time that I worked on the show, we never televised a preseason game. Never. Of the Montreal Canadiens, and I don't think anybody else was either. Now, if a game is played on a Monday morning at 10 o'clock in September, it's going to be on television, So that's the big difference. It's all, the coverage today is so different, but that's where Hockey Night grabbed everybody, because, as I say, it was the one and only at the time.
Were you surprised to hear this? And I know it's about money. They're not millions. There are billions of dollars involved in these contracts. Now, was this inevitable, do you think?
Yes, it was. As I understand it, and I'm no way am I close to it anymore the way I used to be, I don't think the CBC, they didn't do any production anymore. It was all done by Sportsnet. CBC pulled a switch. Turned a switch on for the games on, first of all, only Saturday nights, regular season. I think the CBC covered, certainly Canadian teams, they covered all of the games that the Canadians played, and the Oilers and the Senators before them. That was, but the production, as I understand it now, has been for a while, totally under the control of Sportsnet, and that's why we shouldn't be surprised, because they've been doing it all anyway.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you're sad. I know you've been away from this for a while, but it's in your blood. It always has been. It's in your family as well. I mean, you kind of wonder now. So this is basically the end. As I said off the top, Dick, so many of us remember. This is what we grew up with, right?
Oh, yeah.
Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada. I mean, it's part of the fabric of this country, and I know some people have said the same thing. So it is a sad, sad moment. I don't think there's any way around that.
Yeah, the Canadians, even in the late 60s, that's when CFCF Radio made a deal with the Canadians late in the year. One time, because there were games that the Canadians didn't even have a radio coverage at that time.
Hard to believe.
Not that long ago, and so it was, as I say, the television. I remember CJAD used to carry the games on a Saturday night. They would pick up Danny's play-by-play from television. And then Al Cawley, remember that name?
Sure
Al
did.
used to broadcast to host the intermission show from the studio at the Forum, and that's where I talked on the radio for the first time in my life. He had me as a guest one night, and that's it's really for a long, long time, even after television came in, 16, 17 years after, this coverage was still pretty sparse. Playoffs were different, but the regular season wasn't that much.
Amazing how time flies, isn't it, Dick? It's all pretty crazy.
It's quite something.
Dick, I want to thank you so much, first of all, for just taking the time and doing this, and secondly, for the amazing job that you have done. And I'm getting text messages from people now hearing you saying, wow, it's so wonderful to have, Dick Irvin's voice, to be able to hear that again. So, Dick, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It was a big part of my life and a very enjoyable part, too. So thank you, Aaron. Good talking to you.
You too.
Pride is like love. You feel it in your heart. iHeartRadio, Canada's #1 streaming app for radio and podcasts, including iHeart Pride Canada, your favorite hits, and must-have party bangers, plus personalized and curated playlists like Back in the Day Pride.
Come together, celebrate love.
Take Pride with you, anytime, anywhere. Just ask your smart speaker to play iHeart Pride Canada. Stream us on your phone or listen now at iHeartRadio.ca.